We're back for more Constructicons, and I got a bit of a question for you. Which of these two toys do you think is the best? It's an interesting one, considering that the larger figures here, the Unite Warriors versions, are now over 10 years old. So how do the new Studio Series toys stack up against them? That's what we're going to find out. My name is Sixo, but more on that later, because having previously looked at Bone Crusher, we're back again for Scrapper and Scavenger this time, with a big thank you to the fine folks at Transforverse.EU. You can find a link in the description below. Kicking us off in vehicle mode today, you've got a fine pair of suitably green construction vehicles that do look really nice overall and certainly do the business when it comes to bringing the animation to life. Like, Scrapper is kind of big and inherently fun and chunky and does look really nice. There's a couple of little gaps and things around the side here, but honestly, overall, I think they've done a really good job with this one. Yeah, it's pretty clean and tidy from all angles, you know, there's no real kibble or anything like that. It's got these little ladders on the side, which is kind of cool, just molded in there. Wheels are just hard plastic, as you'd expect, but they do have a little bit of silver paint on the rims just there. There is a little bit of movement on the scoop as well that goes up and down, so is that play value? I don't know. Still kind of getting used to the green on these guys. I found that with Bone Crusher as well, like it's a little bit more washed out than I might have expected, and certainly versus the Unite Warriors versions. I do find him maybe just a smidge plain as well, like there's not even a Decepticon logo in here, which again you get on the Unite Warriors one, so I kind of could have done with a little bit more colour maybe, a bit more variance. But you know, by and large, he looks the business and he does roll pretty nicely on a table, so I'm happy. Now weirdly with this guy, there's nowhere to put his gun in a sort of normal firing position, but you can stow it away on its side just here for a bit of storage. Alternatively, you can take the big man Devastator gun and split it in half, and then that will actually tab in at the rear just there for a bit of offensive weaponry, and then that also allows you to peg in his regular hand blaster as well, so that's how that works. Then you've got this little tab on the side, and that's where the sort of front barrel section of the Devastator gun goes, so now he's fully armed up. And honestly, yeah, I kind of dig how that looks. Like, it's a little bit silly, but that's Transformers for you, isn't it? And I think that's pretty cool. It's an interesting comparison between this and the Unite Warriors one though, if only because the first thing that really hits me is the colour difference. The Unite Warriors one is way more saturated, like a really in-your-face green, whereas this one kind of looks a little bit desaturated, if anything. Like, honestly, my first impression was that the Studio Series version looked washed out, and I certainly felt that way with Bone Crusher, but the more I get used to it, the more I think it works, and actually, if anything, the Unite Warriors guys kind of look a little bit oversaturated now. Like, it's so strange. Props to them for going for the more cartoon accurate cab section here on this version, whereas obviously on the Unite Warriors ones they took a little bit of a creative liberty there, let's say. That said, there are some visual flourishes on the Unite Warriors version which I really miss, not least of which is the Decepticon logo here. And you know, it's not much, but you do get little additional touches of paint on the body as well. That said, the new one doesn't have clipped on wheels, which is certainly something I don't miss, but you know, the kind of larger size of the Unite Warriors is quite impressive as well, so horses for courses, I guess. Turning our attention to Scavenger, I really like what they've got cooking here in terms of looks, because it feels really nice and solid and tidy, and there's just one real downside. Just like Bone Crusher, he has no wheels or anything. Like, obviously these are treads that don't work, like I get that, but there could at least be some little wheels or something to make him roll, because as it is, he just scuffs the table. Like, what? Like, seriously, we couldn't get some little wheels or something underneath here just to make him roll like a little bit? Like, I get that maybe the demographic that we're aiming for here is not kids necessarily, but I still think that that's kind of a weird choice. Like, I don't care how old you are, you see a big green construction vehicle like this and you're going to want to roll it along, no? But even for those of us with kids, this is like a little bit of a disappointment. I know my son is going to have something to say about it. And it's a funny one because it's a really nice design otherwise. Like, again, I do like what they've got going on here, but it just leaves it feeling like a sort of solid brick, if anything. Like, there's just nothing to do with it, really. I mean, don't get me wrong, the arm moves, obviously, and you've got the little scoop as well, and you can even twist it a bit, so yay, fun. You can also put this guy's regular handgun in pride of place in that peg hole, so that's something, I guess. But in this case, there is a little Decepticon logo there, so that's appreciated, and it's got just the teeniest touch of silver paint here, and some nice moulding on the tread sections. And again, you know, it's such an interesting comparison with the Unite Warriors, because by and large, these two are very similar designs. Like, the transformation is quite similar, actually, but even just in this mode alone, you can see a lot of commonalities in the two of them. Again, I think I'm really coming around to that slightly more muted green now. I've got to say, it just looks better, I think. I never thought I would have said that. Like, honestly, when we started this journey with Bone Crusher, I think I was all in on the green on the Unite Warriors versions, and now I'm definitely flip-flopping on that. Still, the Unite Warriors one does have some nice finishing touches, such as this red just there, the little bit of silver. Similar story on the other side with this kind of mechanical detail. It just adds up a little bit. Honestly though, seeing this set come together, I'm halfway through with it now. I'm quite liking what's going on here. I do think there's a little bit of play value lacking, and certainly the lack of wheels on some of the treads is bizarre, but generally they do look really nice in these modes, so I can't wait to see the full set combined. Transformation-wise, nothing here should present a problem for anybody. They're both very, very simple, and by and large everything clicks together nicely and kind of glides quite smoothly as well. There's no real cumbersome elements or clearance issues or any of that kind of concern. It's all pretty straightforward. And actually, I've got to say, I enjoyed both of these more than I did Bone Crusher, actually. I thought it all came together better as an overall package, and it kind of felt like they weren't any more complicated than they needed to be. So for my part, I think it's a good job. And when you're done, it leaves you with a very handsome pair of robot modes, both of which look highly cartoon accurate to the source and really rather good, actually. Again, I'm really feeling these guys over Bone Crusher from what we've seen so far. Like, I remember feeling with that last effort that he was fine as kind of what would ultimately be part of an overall set, but maybe not mind-blowing in his own right, whereas actually both of these I think can kind of hold their own to a more legitimate degree. I think they're both individually pretty good. Taking a look at Scrapper, first of all, that's a really very nice head sculpt. Looks again a lot like the character from the cartoon. I've always dug how that head sculpt design looks, and I think they've captured it beautifully here. It does have some silver paint and a bit of red and some detailing and things going on the chest, and all of that is very nice, although there's definitely a little bit of a paint imperfection on my copy. Nice bit of shiny silver on the thighs as well, which is really good and does catch the light nicely. And overall, I really think this guy looks the business. Like, if he wasn't part of a combiner team, if this was just a standalone figure on his own right, I would be pretty happy with this. I think he looks great. Now obviously he is significantly smaller than the Unite Warriors version, quite considerably so, but actually I don't think that matters. And it's a strange one again because they do look very similar, but actually there's something to be said for the new version, Although it is more compact, it's maybe a little bit simpler in some ways. I think it looks really good as well, and actually it's not as hollow as the old one somehow. It sort of feels a little bit more substantial in some areas, so good job in my book. You can also arm him up with the two halves of the big Devastator gun, so that is a lot of fun, and he's got some very meaningful articulation as well, making him really enjoyable to just kind of pick up, play with, pose, all of that kind of good stuff. So he pretty much does exactly what I want him to. Scavenger's a similar story, although with some quirks along the way, but first things first, that is a very nice head sculpt. Yet again, I really think they've done a great job with it. Some decent silver finish on the chest just there with a little bit of black and the Decepticon logo, so that all looks good. Feels strange about the fact that this guy has painted green hands, which is really strange. You can see they're purple plastic with green paint over them, which just kind of feels like maybe they're going to chip at some point. Not a big fan of that. Not to mention these big gaps in the forearms are, a little bit unsightly. I also think this guy's proportions are hilarious, right? Like, what? That's such a ridiculously tapered waist. What is going on there, I had to actually check that it wasn't mistransformed in any way to begin with, but nope, that is just how it is. And combined with the little kind of jutting out arms on these little pegs and everything, it's just a bit of a weird look to my eye. He's also got the same thing as Bone Crusher, where the knees are kind of locked into a straight position, and it's not until you really give them a good hard click that they kind of come out, and you can bend them a little bit, but it just means you can't leave them in a very natural position. It's either kind of slightly bent or clicked into place, like completely straight. And I get why it's like that for transformation, but it just doesn't feel the most fluid or natural, Proportions wise, he does have some of the same issues as Bone Crusher as well, in that he really does look like he's wearing a very high-waisted nappy with little legs and kind of this very beefy upper torso, it's all a bit strange. And again, maybe that's to be expected given that they're the two arm bots and there's some consideration there, but it's just something I kind of can't unsee. But it's not as bad as on Bone Crusher, and really he looks fine overall. Again, it's Bone Crusher's big shovel bib that really kind of does him in a little bit, I think, appearance-wise, and Scavenger manages to sidestep that, which is good, but I kind of can't help feeling that if the legs just extended on these guys just a little bit, that it would kind of make them make sense a little bit more proportionally, but I guess then they'd be too tall versus the others in the set, so I don't know, I think those legs are not long enough. I think perhaps it doesn't help that Scavenger was actually one of my favourites from the Unite Warriors crew, so perhaps I'm a little bit biased in this case, but I just think that version had a couple of advantages over it. And yes, obviously it's a lot bigger again, and actually looking at it again objectively, it has some of the strange upper body and kind of waist proportions that the Studio Series version has, and yet I kind of feel like maybe it just looks a little bit more natural somehow. I mean, regardless of whether it's considered cartoon accurate or not, I kind of feel like that extending knee joint just makes all the difference on the larger version, And I also really like how on the Unite Warriors one, the hollow sections on the arms are actually on the reverse, so they're really nicely hidden. Not to mention what you also then get here in terms of paint and colour, it's just really nice. Ultimately though, it's not like there's a right or wrong here, both sets have their merits going on, so I'd love to know what your thoughts are. Do you prefer the new Studio Series versions, or are you kind of feeling a little bit nostalgic for the ones from 10 years ago? Let me know. And whilst you're at it, you should absolutely go and check out Transforverse.EU, who are a European Transformers site with tons of robots in disguise in stock and available for pre-order right now. They're also run by really friendly, approachable folks who are as fanatical about Transformers as you are, so if you live in Europe, go and give them a look. It's Transforverse.eu, there's a link in the description below, which if you use it might even give you the occasional discount, so that's worth a look, isn't it? For today, I think there's a lot to like about this pair, and they're kind of building on what we've already seen with Bone Crusher, and they do look really good with stuff like Studio Series Megatron. I doubt that many people are going to be super disappointed with them, let's put it that way, and having already seen the combined mode in hand personally, I know that it's pretty spectacular. So, even if some of the individuals do have their quirks, I think we're onto a good thing overall here. Besides, it's kind of what I've said about a few combiner teams recently, is that I honestly think they're best viewed as a kind of holistic experience, Maybe don't get too hung up about the individuals, because often it comes good when you see the complete set, and I'm definitely getting some of that flavour right here. So for me, for today, it's a very definite 2, but do let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and otherwise, thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day. TTFN.